Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the City of Lowell Zone Board of Appeals public hearing for December 9th. Just a few reminders. If you're speaking tonight, if you could just come to the lectern, state your name and address for the record when you speak, and then also just a reminder, you can join this meeting virtually through Zoom or by calling DPD ahead of schedule. We'll move right into continued business. Also, you have a cell phone or electronic device, so you could just put it on silent or turn it off so it doesn't disrupt the meeting. It'd be appreciated. Under continued business, we have a variance. The applicant is Daisy Ayala, probably located at 637 Beacon Street. The Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing to hear all interested persons relative to an application by Daisy Ayala to construct a driveway at 637 Beacon Street. The property is located in the traditional neighborhood single-family TSF zoning district and requires variance approved under section 6.1.10 and for any other relief required in the Lowell zoning ordinance. Anyone here for Beacon Street? Oh, yeah. Good evening. You want to just tell us about your project, ma'am?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. My name is Daisy Ayala. I'm from 637 Beacon Street, and I'm here on a variance requesting to build a driveway.
Yeah. Do you want to just update us about anything that's changed since the last time?
Well, I submitted a new plot plan.
Okay. Okay. If that's all you have at the moment, we'll open up the hearing to the public, okay?
That's all I have unless you have questions.
Thank you. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this petition? In opposition? In opposition, seeing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Anyone wishing to speak in favor? In favor of the petition? In favor? Seeing none, the public hearing is closed. We can open questions and comments to the board. The chair recognizes Mr. Breer. Mr. Breer, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My question is for Peter with the DPD. The comments upon their initial visit were rather cautionary. Have you had an opportunity to review the new site plan?
I was not assigned to this particular project. I don't see any updated comments in the project folder.
Okay. Well, engineering and transportation are not recommending that we deny the request. However, the board indicated that they wouldn't recommend the issuance of this variance. So I'm rather conflicted by it. When I say the board, I'm referring to DPD staff. But I'll withhold judgment and hear what my colleagues have to say. I guess I need some further information before I can render judgment. I would like to see the second driveway there, but I want to make sure that we're not impeding any other on-street parking or traffic in any way. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Breer. The chair recognizes Mr. Prokop. Mr. Prokop, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I actually had the same question that Member Briere had, because as you said, Peter, the comments from DPD was from October 15th, but it looks like the updated site plan was after the initial comment. Is that correct?
That's correct. So I believe the original issue was that there was not enough space for the walkway, for the, oh God, what do you call it? For the, whatever space belongs to the state there, to the city.
To the city, yeah.
Yeah. So
And-
what I did, originally, there was an 8-foot setback from the house, so I brought the setback closer to the house.
To the house, right.
And to allow the 5 feet at the end of the curb.
Yeah, but I remember that. I mean, and I can see from the site plan that it is closer to the house, based the difference from the original. I want to say that it looks like you may have met the requirements by moving it closer to the house. There was an 8-feet difference. You moved it up to what, 6 feet
I moved it up to 3.
to 3 feet?
So there's a 3-foot setback from the
3-foot
house.
setback from the house. Yeah, that's what I recall. And I believe that was the only thing that was required at that time.
Correct.
Yeah. In that particular case, I don't have an issue, but I would like to see if DPD staff would have the same conclusion based on the updated site plan that you provided. But I would also defer to fellow members to get their opinions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Prokop. Chair recognizes Mr. McCarthy. Mr. McCarthy, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think that this makes a lot of sense of what you did with revising it. Basically taking 5'9" away from the setback to the house. And so you're minimizing that setback, which is the minimum of 3 feet that's allowable. And then the 8'4" that you have from the property line to the existing pavement, which is existing pavement on a dead end. So the likelihood of that being a widened area is kind of remote, because there's only a few houses that are served. And judging from the city standards of a 6-foot sidewalk, if one were ever to be put in, you still wouldn't be overhanging that. That gives you 2 foot 4 inches, and you're at 16 and a half feet. 18 foot is the normal parking space. So you only need, so in my opinion, you did satisfy, I think, with the criteria that the comments had. So I can support this. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McCarthy. The chair recognizes Mr. Hovey. Mr. Hovey, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. I remember I was sitting over there talking to you about this, yeah, and it was the measurements, right? That's what we were off on the measurements. We were a little too far from the house, and we didn't know how much of that city property we were away from. And these site plans satisfy all that. I think the average SUV is like 15 feet. So even if the city put in a sidewalk, which, as Member McCarthy said, is probably unlikely, we'd still have room here. So I appreciate the work you did going back and adjusting to make everything fit, and I'll support this.
Thank you, Mr. Hovey. The chair recognizes Mr. Nicholson. Mr. Nicholson, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I was not part of the first meeting, but looking at the revised plan, it makes sense. I mean, I live in that area, so I know that I'm up and down Beacon Street 4 times a day. So it's a highly trafficked street. So getting the cars off there makes sense. So I can justify this as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nicholson. Thank you for the updated plans. Appreciate it. Yeah, I don't see any concerns. I think you met the need for the variance in terms of updating the plans. So I don't have any concerns either. Do we have any other comments before we move forward with a motion on this matter? Oh, Mr. Briere, go ahead, sir. Do you have a comment?
I can see clearly now, and I'll be supporting the petition.
Thank you, Mr. Briere.
I told you I wanted the driveway.
It's okay, yeah.
Thank you, sir, for your comments. Anyone else have any comments before we move forward with the motion? All right, seeing none, can I have a motion, please?
To you, Mr. Chairman, regarding petition for variance at 637 Beacon Street, under zoning bylaws, section 6.1.10. The property located in a traditional neighborhood single-family TSF zone. Zoning district requires variance approval under 6.1.10 for relief required under the Lowell zoning ordinance.
All right, motion by Mr. Prokop. Second by Mr. Briere. Can we have a roll call, please?
Chairman Peck,
Approve.
Member McCarthy,
Approve.
Member Prokop,
Approve.
Member Briere, Member Hovey,
Approve.
Member Nickerson.
Approve.
All right, you've been approved. Wish you best of luck.
Thank you. Have a good
Thank you. Have a good night. All right, moving on to the next item on the agenda. All right, we're gonna take one matter out of order here. We have, the petition is ZBA-2024-62. The petition is the administrative appeal. Applicant is Mark J. Caribbean. Property located at 1280 Middlesex Street. The applicant has applied to zoning board of appeals, seeking an administrative appeal concerning the building commissioner's zoning determination regarding the redevelopment and use of the property as a six-family structure at 1280 Middlesex Street. The applicant is seeking an administrative appeal pursuant to section 11.2.2 of the Lowell zoning ordinance and Mass General Law, chapter 40A, section 15. All right, we got communication that they are requesting a continuance. Mr. Katrumbas, did they say what day the continuance was, or?
To the next available meeting, which would be January 13th.
Is that the next open one on the docket? January 13th, okay. All right. Let's have a motion to continue the matter to January 13th, please.
Could I also make the motion to refer this to legal?
Yeah.
Same time?
Yeah.
Please.
Can we also get an opinion from the law department, too? Any other comments before we move forward with a motion to continue? All right, seeing none, can we have a motion, please?
To you, Mr. Chairman, regarding ZBA 2024-62, property located at 1280 Middlesex Street, under zoning bylaws 11.2.2, to be continued January 13, 2025.
All right, motion by Mr. Prokop to continue the matter.
Second motion.
Second by Mr. McCarthy. Can we have a roll call, please?
Chairman Peck,
Approve continuance.
Member McCarthy,
Approve continuance to January 13, 2025.
Member Prokop,
Approve continuance to January 13, 2025.
Member Briere, Member Hovey,
Approve.
Member Nickerson.
Approve.
All right, the matter's been continued. Just for the public notice, there will be no other public notice. The matter is continued to January 13th, 2025.
Do we have to make a second motion to refer it to legal for an opinion, or it wasn't included in that?
No, we don't have to do a
Okay.
public, we can get in touch with them.
Thank you for that, Mr. Contreras. All right, going back to our scheduled item, we have ZBA-2024-42. Petition is a variance. The applicant is Suchita Hang, property located at 119 Foster Street. The applicant has applied to Lowell Board of Appeals to construct an addition at 119 Foster Street. The property is located in traditional neighborhood, single-family TSF zoning district, and requires variance approval under section 5.1 to exceed the maximum allowed floor area, FAR, and for any other relief required in the Lowell zoning ordinance. Good evening.
Good evening, zoning board members. My name is Suchita Heng, resident 119 Foster Street, Lowell, Mass. So with the addition, I made a lot of changes from the previous one to the current one. That also cut down with the size of the project and the deck of the project, and making the bedroom, that's where we're focusing on, bigger too.
Okay, thank you, ma'am, for that update. If there's nothing else, we're going to open the hearing to the public. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this petition? Wait. Go ahead. Good evening, Councilor.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Michael Wiggins from the firm of Weston Patrick, 1 Liberty Square in Boston. We appeared before you in October in opposition, and at that time I spoke a lot about the fact that this particular lot could not qualify for a variance for an increase of almost double the square footage. And I mentioned that there would be an adverse impact on my client's use of her property as well as on the neighborhood in this district, which really values a lot of open space. We haven't heard directly from the petitioner, but we have looked at these new plans, and other than just removing a deck, they do not solve the problem of a very substantial increase in square footage that is going to have an impact on the neighbors. I took the liberty of enlisting a graphics designer from an architectural firm I work with to show you a rendering of how this project as modified would look, and I'd like to present that to the board members to look at if I could.
Of course, Councilor, yeah. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, so each of these renderings that we're having, we have a picture looking across from my client's rear yard to the rear of 119 Foster Street. I think I gave that to you before. And then the second picture is a juxtaposition of this addition. It's a two-story addition. There's they've called it, I think, a basement, but that, as I understand it, feeds out into the backyard. So this is a two-story addition. There is a privacy fence between the properties that exist there now, but this basically cuts out light and air from the south, which is the direction we're facing. And as you can see, it also substantially intrudes upon the privacy in the rear yard of my client's property. So my client bears no ill will to her neighbors. She would like to have them would like to accommodate them, but this is almost a doubling of the square footage, as I've said before. There is no justification under the city ordinance or the state statute for a variance of this nature, given that the lot itself has no unusual soil or slope or shape. So we regret to say that we do oppose this, and we ask you to deny the variance.
Okay, thank you, Councilor. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition to this petition? In opposition? In opposition? That portion of the public hearing is closed. Anyone wish to speak in favor of this petition? In favor? In favor? All right, seeing none, the public hearing is closed. We're going to open questions and comments for the board. The chair recognizes Mr. Procope. Mr. Procope, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My concern here is to debate, in my opinion, to debate this project. When I drove by yesterday, I did not see a public notice. And I think to be consistent with some of our prior decisions, I'm not sure how much I think we should hear this motion, because even though there is one person that's opposing at this time, I'm not sure how many people are aware of this project on a whole. So I didn't see, Peter, our standard process is to have a public notice.
We did send everything out. And the neighbor across the street from us, I think I talked to her a few days ago. She said, oh, yeah, because I asked her, oh, did you get my letter? She said, yeah, I did, but it's your house. They don't really care. But they did.
There's supposed to be a request for permit sign up at the property. I don't know if that was posted for the first hearing or not. If it was posted for the first hearing, technically it only needs to be posted once, but. Because technically when it's continued,
Yeah,
that serves as the public notice for the next one.
and the posting should stay up, right, as well?
I don't think it has to.
Okay. I don't recall if there was first one. I mean, driving by yesterday, I didn't see one. Did you post a public notice, out front? Yeah.
Yes, I did. I still left it there.
I didn't see it yesterday, so. I'll see what the will of the board says, but I'm not sure if I feel comfortable in making a decision, not knowing for sure if there was a notice there. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Prokop. The chair recognizes Mr. McCarthy. Mr. McCarthy, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I did see the notice up today, just in case. It is still up, as far as I saw. I just want to find out a little bit more about what you're trying to accomplish here. You have a basement that's 22 by 28. Why do you have such a big basement? Do you need that space? Your FAR is huge. Floor to area ratio currently is huge. I think your current floor to area ratio, by the way, your documents don't reflect this. Your current floor to area ratio is 0.67. That's the amount of building on the lot. What's allowed in the zone is 0.35. So you're nearly double today without any addition what's allowed by the zoning. And you're asking for an addition, which tips it even further to 0.9. That's not triple, but it's close to triple what's allowed in zoning. And part of that is the basement. You have a full basement, 22 by 28, but I just wanted to try to understand why I understand what you're trying to do here with the first floor, but why do we have such a big basement?
So the basement is not livable. Mostly it's because of storage, and the addition usually just to add to it, just to symmetrically be with the basement. I don't need the basement to be that storage part. I just need the upper part, like the first
Right.
floor.
I kind of thought that was the answer. Unfortunately, the way the city counts floor to area ratio in zoning, we include the basement, and we include decks and porches. I appreciate you downsizing the project and eliminating the deck in the back. When it had the deck, you were close to 1, which would be triple what's allowed in zoning. I still think it's a little too dense for the neighborhood. An FAR of double, which is almost what you currently have. Until the city changes these zoning rules, I think it's just too dense for the neighborhood to go to almost, to 0.9 when you were only allowed 0.35. I'm sorry about the need that you have, and having that need is wonderful that you're trying to accomplish it. And I really would like to see that happen, but I think you kind of have to do it within the framework of your 3,350 square foot home that you currently have. I think it's too dense for this neighborhood. I wish it was not as big a stretch, but at 0.35 in this neighborhood, and you're currently almost double with your existing building, to ask for an addition is a little too dense for me, personally. That's only my opinion.
May I?
Sure.
Because there's a front porch, but when we applied for the variant, they told us because they add the front porch also with the whole square feet. So when you drove by, you see the front porch is not livable. And then we also have existing deck. So the addition is part of the deck itself. And like my niece said, we do not need the basement, but it's just to make it even, because the house, the first floor is, they have no bathroom. So when you look from the main street Foster, it's the first level and then the second floor. But then when you go to the backyard, it looked like there's a second floor, but it's not, it's only the first floor. So
I completely understand what you're saying. Unfortunately, the criteria the city uses to establish building area that is then used in creating the FAR number, we include decks, we include front porches, we include basements, we include attic space in that number. All of those things go to buildable area. Partly because sometimes people finish their basements, sometimes people finish their attics, sometimes they do become livable area. A lot of times that happens. So that's, and your deck that you currently have is only 240 square feet, and you're asking for an increase almost 3 times the size of your existing deck. So I understand you have an existing deck, but you're tripling the size with the addition, as well as building a whole level down below. So it's going from 240 square feet to 1,232 square feet. So that's a big stretch, in my opinion. I wish I could support it because I love the idea of people supporting their family and having them live with them. But I just think this number is too big for this neighborhood, in my opinion. Thank you.
Excuse me, can I just step in? I was the designer for this project. I designed it and did a construction drawing, and that area, were meant to be, sort of a low bedroom wall, or for the lows upstairs or something, So are you suggesting that if we eliminate the basement, altogether, could we still have the living space upstairs, have an open space below, with sauna too, something? Would that suffice?
I would, if we could support the rest of the support of the board, continue this to redesign it, to do something smaller, and to consider eliminating the basement, and to consider making the footprint less than 22 by 28.
Okay.
And return. I think that's too big. I love the idea of helping, and you already have 240 square feet of a deck, but maybe 500 square feet or 450 square feet of an addition would be something more palatable, especially when you're only trying to accomplish a studio apartment, basically, I think. Right. So I think it's too big, is my opinion. Maybe you should consider continuing this and redesigning it one more time. And recognizing that the city counts basements as FAR. If you didn't have a basement, we wouldn't be counting an additional 615 square feet.
I see. Okay, so basically suggesting that, we leave the basement.
I'm only speaking for myself,
Okay,
but I would suggest that you consider doing something smaller, because I think that's a great idea to help family live in your home. but I think that in this neighborhood, going to .9 FAR is too big. I think going to something closer to what you currently have is a better idea.
Okay, so you said a .9, are you including the basement
So,
and the living space?
so you may want to review the zoning documents that we have online and see how the city calculates FAR. But your current zoning analysis that you have documented here states the provided FAR as .67. Well, the provided FAR is .9. It's not stating it correctly. And the relief sought is in the neighborhood of .55 relief. You're asking for more relief than what's allowable by zoning. So I think you want to just kind of review how FAR is calculated by the city and document it correctly for one, but maybe reconsider the size that you need to have for this addition and do something smaller.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McCarthy. The chair recognizes Mr. Harvey. Mr. Harvey, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. I agree with the narrative and the goal of the addition. It's your grandmother, right? You want to keep your grandmother on the floor, and I think that's a justifiable reason to put an addition on. The first time this was in front of us, my issue was scope. Now, I know you changed the insides, you moved the kitchen from one side to the other. Well, the layout of the addition was never, at least my issue. The size was, right? So right now, you have a 24 by 28 house. Your addition is 22 by 28. You're almost doubling your house. And I think that scope, asking that much, that was my problem. I'll speak for myself. It was the size of the project. An additional bedroom for your grandmother, that's wonderful. I saw with the updated plans that it looks like you're blowing out the kitchen, and now you're having from a moderate-sized kitchen to a extremely large kitchen. So I think we can scale back to Member McCarthy's point is I think we're just too big. The FAR, we're looking to go somewhere where we normally don't go with FAR. So I think, you know, the levels in your house kind of throw it off and make it a little bit of a more difficult project. But I think if we scale it down a little bit and, you know, maybe get away from that 22-foot addition, that will be more feasible, at least for me. I'm not going to speak for anybody else, but at this scope, it's just too much of an ask, I think, for that neighborhood. And truthfully, for any neighborhood that's dense like that, to put something to double the FAR is a little bit too much for me to approve. So I would recommend a redesign, but that's totally up to you folks.
Okay. Are you suggesting that perhaps, you know, if we eliminate the basement with the second floor still?
Yeah. I'm not gonna tell you how to do it. You're the designer. You know a little bit more than me on that. I'm just saying the size itself is a big ask.
Yeah. I just want to add too, with the size that we're doing the addition, it's more of like the handicap mobility. That's why more of the bathroom and doors and stuff like that, it's accommodate with all of that.
Certainly. No, I understand. And I just think there's a way to do it, just at not that scope. But that's where I am on this. I would certainly like to see something done that's going to help your grandmother stay there, because it is important. But I think at this scope, it's not something I can support.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Harvey. The chair recognizes Mr. Nixon. Mr. Nixon, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't really have many comments. I mean, I just have to agree with Mr. Hovey and Mr. McCarthy. I mean, I do find it admirable that you want to keep your grandmother there. So most people want to put them in a nursing home. So, I mean, it makes sense to want to keep her home. But I have to agree with the two of them, though. I think it's a little bit too big. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nixon. The chair recognizes Mr. Briere. Mr. Briere, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When you were here last, I commended you on your efforts to afford your mom the dignity of aging in place. So admirable. But what we all agreed upon at your last visit was that the size and scale of the project was too dense. So I think you would agree with me that grandmom is deserving of you going back to the drawing board and presenting us a plan that hopefully, no promises, hopefully, would allow your mom to have that dignity that you're here for this evening. So I would support a continuance. And my friend, you get back to work
Yes, I will.
and work diligently with the neighbors. As I said, no guarantees on this,
Right.
but mom's worth the effort. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Briere. Ms. Hang, thank you for the redesign, and I do appreciate, I know my colleagues do too, that you guys try to redesign the scale and scope of the addition. Like my colleagues, I think it's a good reason. We always want to support our families to stay with us, to kind of have that family dynamic all together, and have the space available for them. I think you heard the wishes of the board. I think if you could work with your designer, sorry, if you can, I think, scale down the project, the addition, it'll look more favorably in your petition. And again, I would urge you that I think we as a board want to support family staying together, additions that are appropriate in size and scale, but continue to kind of redesign the addition to make it just more in line with the FAR and the ratio of the house. And again, I would just seek comments from your neighbors. I know Mr. Wiggins is here tonight representing an abutter, but they seem rather in terms of trying to work it out so it's amenable to everybody, if that makes sense. So it works out for you and your family, but also the neighbor. Because I think if you were on the other side of the fence, I think you would want someone to work with you too, being the direct neighbor. So I think if you could work with the direct neighbor, I think that'd be ideal. Again, that's your right to do or not. That's up to you. But again, I think it's a good project. I think if we could scale it down, I think we can make something work here that's amenable to everyone involved. Mr. Katrumbis, when's our next open item on the agenda here?
It would be January 27th.
Yeah, January 27th. All right. Does that work with folks, January 27th, Ms. Hang, and you and your planner? Okay. So,
Mr. Chairman,
yeah, go ahead.
can we ask the designer for his name for the record?
John Lasana, I'm a home designer.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so January 27th, that's the next open available day on the agenda. So you're going to go back, redesign. I would even, reach out to DPD. They're a good resource too. They might be able to help you scale down the project so it's more amenable to the FAR for that area neighborhood.
DPD, where do I get that information?
No, just work with DPD. DPD, yeah, the Department of Plan and Development.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sorry, board members, there's one more slot on the 13th.
Oh, okay.
Yep, sorry.
So January 13th is a little sooner. I don't know, you can turn around that quickly in terms of the new design and plans? So the 13th would be okay with folks? Yeah. Okay. All right. Any other comments by my colleagues? Ms. McCarthy, go ahead, sir.
I just want to ask, is the garage contributing to FAR, Peter?
I'd have to look more closely at the plans, but basically, you stated this, a pretty good summary. Anything that could in the future be converted to livable space, so if it has the ceiling clearance and, the ability to hook up to utilities, would count towards FAR.
I'd just like to throw that out. If the garage is also contributing to FAR, you might want to consider removing the garage as well to help with a square footage that would be more amenable for the development here, for the additional kitchen and bedroom. Just a thought, because I don't know if it does or not, but I think it might. And so you might want to consider decreasing the density on site by removing the garage as well, just as a thought.
All right. Thank you, Mr. McCarthy. Any other comments before we move forward with a motion to continue? All right. Seeing none, can I have a motion to continue, please?
To you, Mr. Chairman, regarding ZBA 2024-42 for variance at 119 Foster Street for zoning laws, section 5.1, to be continued January 13, 2025.
All right. Motion by Mr. Prokop to continue after January 13th.
Second. Second.
Second by Mr. Hovey. Can I have a roll call, please?
Chairman Peck,
Approve continuance.
Member McCarthy,
Approve continuance.
Member Prokop,
Approved continuance to January 13, 2025.
Member Briere, Member Hovey,
Approved.
Member Nickerson.
Approved.
All right. The matter's been continued to January 13th. We'll see you all next month, next year, yep. All right, moving on, we have ZBA-2024-29 petition is a variance special permit. The applicant is Manuel Quindy, property located at 771 Broadway Street. The applicant is applied to Lowell Board of Appeals to open a juice shop at 771 Broadway Street. The subject property is located in traditional multifamily TMF zoning district. The proposal requires special permit approval from the Zoning Board of Appeals per section 4.5 to change the use from one non-conforming use to another non-conforming use. Variance approval per section 6.1 for relief from the off-street parking requirements and any other relief required in the Lowell zoning ordinance. Good evening, folks.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Karen Quindy, and this is my father, Manuel Quindy. So I'm here to request approval to opening Optima Nutrition Shop, and we're going to be selling loaded teas and shakes. And the product is Herbalife, and these are all sealed. Sealed packages that come in, or they come in like big bottles. They're all sealed, and you only need water for this, water and ice, and then it would be like if you want to come in and you want to like add something, that'd be like your choice. But this is only water that you need, water and ice you need for this product. I have an example right here. So this is cookies and cream and vanilla, and it comes all in here. So it just comes in here, it's completely sealed. All you need to add is water and ice and whatever you like. I mean, if the customer would like something else, that's their option. But we're just going to be selling this and just protein teas. And the company is Herbalife, like I said. So, yeah. So.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, ma'am, for that summary of your project. Did you have anything else before we open up to the public? Any other comments you want to share?
¿Tienes una pregunta, otra cosa que decir para ellos?
No,
Solo eso.
solo eso.
That's it.
Okay, thank you. Now we're going to open the hearing to the public. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this petition? Oh, good evening, sir.
Sorry.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, John Nicopoulos. In regards to 751 to 761 Broadway, which is right there. Has anybody been by Broadway to see how congested the parking is? My tenants are being charged $30 for a parking space, which sometimes the people at the barber shop take half the parking spot there. And my concern is for the parking, because they park right in front on the side of Broadway and Walker Street on Broadway. So where would my people park if there's no requirement? While my people are being charged $30 per car to park on Broadway by the city. My thought on it is just protecting my tenants for having space to park. That's my basic concern. With no parking requirement and a business going in, I'm going to be faced the same thing that I'm faced with the barber shop at 771 Broadway, where they come in and they park right in front, and my people call me, John, where am I going to park? And what can I tell them? That's my opposition to the whole thing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir, for your comments. Anyone else wish to speak in opposition to this petition? In opposition? In opposition? All right, seeing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this petition? In favor? In favor? All right, seeing none, the public hearing is closed. We're going to open questions or comments to the board. The chair recognizes Mr. Hovey. Mr. Hovey, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. I can empathize with the parking situation over there. Whether it's the barber shop or the university, it's tough. But we have a commercial space that is impossible to provide parking. So the other alternative is just to leave it empty, which is not ideal. Just reading through the comments here, the city doesn't have any documented complaints about this building. So while parking might be an issue, there are ways to rectify it, and it's unfortunate. They're on a bus route, and I'm going to guess you're kind of catering towards the university students. Is that?
So about the parking, the owner of our space that we got in 771 Broadway Street, because the barbershop is right next to us, but it's separate, for the business. For the owner, what he said to us was that behind the barbershop, there's a dumpster, there's a parking space there. He said that if we do get the approval and everything's all right, that he's going to open up that parking space, because it said that it's part of his place, so he owns it. It's part of the barbershop and the shop we want to open now. And in the front, one parking space is ours and the other one is the barbershop. But if it's the barbershop, has nothing to do with us. But I do understand what you're trying to say here.
Yeah.
I see the issue.
I mean, if he opens up a parking spot in the back, I don't think it's going to solve the problem.
Yeah,
that
at
we're
the back
talking.
there's the big dumpster where we usually throw the trash out, and then there's like a parking space there that he said that he's gonna open, but that's if we get the approval.
Right.
But the barbershop, their clients probably just go and park wherever, but we haven't even started yet, so I'd say.
And then if the parking's an issue,
Yeah,
even if
I
he
know.
opens it up and says it's yours, if the barber shop is parking elsewhere, they're just going to
Yeah,
park
I
in yours
understand.
also. So we're not going to solve the city's parking issues today, unfortunately. I think if people are parking in your tenants' spots, I would start calling the cops if they're reserved spots. You can call Lowell Police Department if they're in reserve spots. Yeah, no, I get it. Certainly. I get it. It's not their number one priority, but at least there's documentation, because what we're seeing here is there's no documentation. Sure.
And no parking on the other side. We've lost like 4.5 spaces of parking.
No, I understand, and that's why I said we're not going to solve it. I grew up on Marginal Street, very familiar with the neighborhood, right? I'm very familiar with the overflow from the university, so I get it. I'm just looking at this as far as special permit. I'm going to guess that a lot of the traffic is going to be foot traffic from the school. Maybe I'm 100% wrong. I can empathize with the parking. We're not going to solve the parking. We have a commercial use building right now that's non-conforming. So I think this falls into line with usage, and that's kind of what we're looking at right now. Hopefully something can get fixed over there, but I don't see a reason to deny this. So on this case, I would support this.
Thank you, Mr. Harvey. The chair recognizes Mr. Nixon. Mr. Nixon, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I mean, we were talking about a commercial space that you're looking for a permit to get into. It's empty. So if it's not going to be you looking for a permit, it's going to be someone else looking for a permit. The tenant wants to rent their commercial space, you know, so I don't see there being a problem with it either. I mean, it's a shake, so I mean, it's going to be like running into Dunkin' Donuts, grabbing something and leaving. The barbershop, people tend to stay around a little bit longer, either getting a haircut, opposed to a tenant that's staying there, you know, permanently for hours or whatever it is. So I don't see there being an issue, to be honest with you, with not giving you a permit for this. So I'm in support.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nixon. The chair recognizes Mr. Brier. Mr. Brier, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The very same reasoning or rationale that was used back in 2016 that allows the barber shop to exist is the same reasoning and rationale we should use this evening to allow these folks to operate their juice shop. The parking problems are the parking problems. Again, there's no solution to that, but I don't see there being any reason to deny you the opportunity to establish a business over there on Broadway Street. I'll be voting in favor of the petition. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brier. The chair recognizes Mr. Prokop. Mr. Prokop, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know I'm going to sound like the notice police, but again, I didn't see a public notice at this property when I was by yesterday. I'm happy and, well, surprised to see that someone who was not in favor was aware of this. I'm not sure how many other neighbors were aware of this since I didn't see a notice. I looked around, I walked around on the side street as well. Again, we have a policy that we shouldn't vote on something if there is no public notice. So I would, if the other board members didn't see a notice, I would think that we would prefer to continue till we are sure that the public is notified. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Prokop. The chair recognizes Mr. McCarthy. Mr. McCarthy, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is being continued. So this has been, the hearing has been open before. Do you remember the time that it was open? Peter, if you could just tell me, because I don't know if this is wishful thinking, but I do think I saw a notice at one time there at that site. And I know that if it had been there at one time, it doesn't necessarily need to be there today. So, and did we ever get an image sent to planning development of the notice being up?
I don't see a photo of the notice being up.
Okay.
I know just from like personal anecdote that I believe a sign was posted, but I don't know if that's sufficient.
Maybe the applicant can speak to that. Do you remember at one point if you had a poster basically put up on the building notifying people of the hearing?
We did.
I thought you did. Okay, so you did
I
satisfy
have a
that.
picture of it, but on my phone.
Okay.
We made 2, but because when it was a new meeting, we had to change the date because we did put up. We have a picture too, but we just didn't upload it or send it. To them.
Okay.
But we do have it. We made another one because we had to change the date, so that was 2. But yeah, we did.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm glad you're doing nutritional drinks.
Thanks.
That sounds wonderful. And I really like the idea of this opening up in this location. Traffic is going to be problematic everywhere. There's a lot of rental property in that neighborhood that doesn't even have any parking. 5-unit, 4-unit, 6-unit buildings that don't provide any parking. It's relying on street parking. And where this is an existing commercial unit, I think we really have to acknowledge the fact that we want those businesses to be there and to be filled. But I agree with you, parking is an issue. I don't have a solution for it. I wish everyone walked. I wish everyone rode electric scooters. I wish everyone took the bus. I can wish all I want, but there's going to be cars, and there's a lot of traffic in that neighborhood for sure. I know that neighborhood well. But that being said, I do want to see a business there. I do want to see you succeed. I do want to see nutritional drinks. So I'd like to support this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. McCarthy. Thank you for coming back. I know you've been back a few times because of the
Yeah.
public notice, open meeting, public meeting laws notice, information that you have to process that you have to do. I think this is a good kind of reuse, repurpose of this site and the building and the little unit in there. Sarah, I apologize. I sympathize with you as well. I know parking in that Broadway acre area is tough. I live in South Lowell. It's also very tight and congested, and I have no parking either. So I totally get it. I think this forum in terms of zoning, we really can't control in terms of it seems like you have parking violations. I think Mr. Harvey gave a good kind of recommendation. I think you just have to go through like maybe the Lowell Police or that avenue, unfortunately. But I really think it's a good repurpose of this site. Again, I think it's always good when we can like support a small business, and hopefully, you guys do well and successful and last. I think that's a tough area to have any kind of business, but wish you the best of luck. And again, I'll be supporting as well. So
Thank you.
yeah, Mr. Prokop, do you have a comment, sir?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That being said, as I lean on the experience of my senior members, the fact that you came before and there was a sign, and maybe I was absent at the time, but in reviewing your proposal, again, I would be voting in favor of it. I just wanted to make sure that the public was notified. Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Prokop. Any other comments by my colleagues before we move forward with the motion? Seeing none, can I have a motion?
Okay, to you, Mr. Chairman, regarding ZBA 2024-29 for variance and special permit located at 771 Broadway Street, under zoning laws, section 4.5 and section 6.1. Per section 4.5, change of use from one non-conforming use to another non-conforming use. Variance approval per section 6.1 for relief from off-street parking requirements.
All right, motion by Mr. Prokop,
Second.
second, Mr. Hovey. Can we have a roll call, please?
Chairman Peck,
Approve.
Member McCarthy,
Approve?
Member Prokop,
Approve?
Member Briere, Member Hovey,
Approve.
Member Nickerson.
Approve.
All right, you've been approved. Wish you the best of luck.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.
You too. Have a good evening. All right, moving on to the next item on our agenda. We have ZBA-2024-63. The petition is a variance. The applicant is Mad Jack 7 LLC, property located at 132 Powell Street. Mad Jack 7 LLC is part of the Zoning Board of Appeals to construct a single-family home at 132 Powell Street. The subject property is located in traditional multifamily TMF zoning district. The proposal requires variance approval for section 5.1 for relief from the minimum lot area and minimum rear yard setback requirements and any other relief required in Lowell's ordinance. Good evening, Councilor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good evening to all. For the record, my name is John Geary of Geary & Geary LLP, 32 Church Street, Lowell, Mass. I'm here tonight representing the applicant, Mad Jack 7 LLC. With us tonight, we have Steve Lawrence, and Steve is a principal of Mad Jack. Steve is also a local realtor that has been working with local buyers and sellers in the city for the last 30 years as a real estate broker. We also have Matt Hammer of Lamplex Engineering. In advance of tonight's hearing, we've provided the board with the typical site plan and the architectural plans, which include the floor plans and the elevations for the proposed single-family home. As the chairman mentioned, we're here tonight seeking relief pursuant to section 5.1 of the city zoning ordinance for minimum lot area. The subject property is a soon-to-be vacant lot located at, in the traditional multifamily zoning district. The lot would consist of approximately 4,012 square feet of land. Until very recently, this lot was part of what was known as 132 Powell Street. 132 Powell Street consisted of a large warehouse-style commercial building that had not been cared for and really was an eyesore to the neighborhood. The applicant purchased the property in September with the intent of demolishing that building and creating 3 lots and constructing 3 single-family homes on those lots. So shortly after purchasing the property, Matt had created an approval not required plan. 2 of those lots, the lots identified as lots 1 and 2 on the site plan, are conforming in all aspects of the zoning code. The lot in question tonight, which is identified as lot 3 on the site plan, is undersized by 400 or so square feet. So as I said, the property is located in the traditional multifamily zoning district. In the traditional multifamily zoning district, you're required to have a minimum lot size of 4,500 square feet. We're proposing 4,012 square feet. If approved, the applicant would be constructing a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home on that lot that would consist of roughly 2,140 square feet of living space. In the grand scheme of things, I would suggest that what we are proposing is far more harmonious to the character of the neighborhood than whatever existed on this lot. In terms of the comments provided by the staff, those comments are fairly straightforward and supportive of the application, but there are a few comments worth elaborating upon. So starting with comment number 5, staff correctly points out that although our application made a request for a side yard setback, that is not necessary here. This lot 3 is a corner lot, corner of Waite and Powell Street. Because it's a corner lot, according to the ordinance, there is no side yard. It's only rear yard. So just to be clear, the only relief we're requesting tonight is for minimum lot area. Comment. Are we? Okay. And rear setback. So Matt will go over that when he has the plan before you tonight. Comment number 7 reiterates the fact that the former use of the property was pre-existing, non-conforming, and more than likely non-conforming most of the time, just plain non-conforming. And that a single-family home is more compliant with the character of the neighborhood. Comment number 8 mentions that there are lots as small as 2,200 square feet in this neighborhood, so certainly what we are proposing at 4,012 square feet is in line in character with what exists in the neighborhood. Comment number 9 asks us to confirm that the driveway setback is compliant. It is compliant, and Matt will go over that when he reviews the plan with the board. Comment number 10 indicates that the applicant will need to seek a stormwater permit for a stormwater infiltration system. That is the intent of the applicant. So, of course, if the board would wish to condition any approval on a stormwater permit, we would be happy to go along with that. Comment number 11 suggests that we incorporate the engineering department comments into any approval. We've had the opportunity to review those comments. We have no concern with any of those comments and happy to incorporate as conditions. The last two staff comments just indicate that the project is a significant improvement to the neighborhood and that there's really no concern with the application. Other than the engineering department comments, the only other department that weighed in on this was the economic development team. And the economic development comments were supportive of the application. However, they inquire what the property could have yielded if we went multifamily as opposed to single family, which we are proposing. So the traditional, the traditional multifamily zoning district has a lot area per dwelling unit requirement of 4,000 square feet. If the lot were combined as one lot and we were to develop it as one lot, it's slightly over 13,000 square feet. The yield would be basically the same. We could go before the planning board for a special permit to construct a 3-unit townhouse style condominium, residential units, but considering the neighborhood, it made more sense to the developer to come before you and ask for the relief for this slightly undersized lot. So that's why we're here tonight. But that comment made good points. So with that, I'll turn the presentation over to Matt. He can go through the site plan with the board.
Thank you, Councilor Gary. Good evening, Mr. Hammer.
Good evening, Chairman Peck, members of the board. For the record, Matt Hammer with Lamplex Engineering and Surveying, 10 George Street, Lowell, Mass. I'm going to reiterate a lot of the things that Attorney Gary had just outlined in his presentation, but I think it's important to look at the property itself for the reason why we ended up with the lot size that it is. What we did was, we have an odd-shaped lot. It's kind of an L. And what we did was we said, okay, what is the best way to divide this lot up into 3 lots and to not have houses that were different or small in any way that would be consistent with what the developer would want to develop. And what we were able to do was do the same home for all 3 houses with a porch, entry, and parking on the side of the building, and we were able to lay out the other 2 houses on the other 2 lots, which is part of the submission. We felt as though it was important for the Zoning Board of Appeals to see how the other lots were laid out in order for us to get down to the lot that we're here before you this evening, which is the 4,012 square feet, and that's what we've done. We've shown out, the building here with frontage off of Powell and Hazeltine. This here with a driveway off of Powell, and then this remaining lot here with a driveway off of Waite Street. And in doing so, what happens is that the rear setback here is 20 feet typically, and we're proposing that to be 16.5 feet, and we thought that could be granted to show consistency with the other homes on the other lots. The lots are an odd configuration because it's all on 3 corners of 3 streets, 2 corners of 3 streets, and there was work put into the reason why we're here this evening for this remaining lot. The driveway would be here for the 2 vehicles. This is the single-family house with the front entrance porch with the walkway. And we also have done an infiltration system on the property. I know one of the comments was the stormwater management, stormwater permit, and we provided drainage to show that we're going to be in compliance with that stormwater permit requirement. There's very little grading necessary to put the house on the property. And we also have the architectural drawings that are submitted with the file as well. I don't have a copy, a full-size plan of the architecturals. I forgot to bring those with me this evening, but I have a smaller version if anyone has any comments related to that as well.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hammer, for your comments.
And Mr. Chairman, just to be, Matt, I stand corrected, we do need that rear yard setback as well.
Thank you, Counselor. If you have no further comments, we're going to open the hearing to the public. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this petition? In opposition? In opposition? All right, seeing none, that portion of public hearing is closed. Anyone wish to speak in favor of this petition? Oh, go ahead, sir. Do you want to come up to the lectern and just... Yeah, go ahead. State your name and address and...
My name's Paul Mancino, live at 33 Waite Street, right next to this lot.
Okay, good evening.
I was under the impression something was going to be brought up about a right-of-way on our property, and I didn't hear anything about that.
Thank you. Yeah, go ahead, ma'am.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
And I'm not actually in opposition. I think my husband misunderstood, but I have been in that home for 40 years. The home was built in the 1870s, and I've been next to that unsightly eyesore all these years. I grew up on the street, so let's make it 67 years I've looked at that building, which has been in total disrepair, unkept, and a lot of activities have happened over the years. I'll call it the good, the bad, and the ugly. The ugly being most recent for the last several years, when the cold storage use that it was designated for became basically squatters' homes, and people driving in to shoot up and stripping of vehicles and banging cars all night long. So it was a very welcome news when I heard that the property had been sold, and there was a wonderful plan to build 3 homes in this neighborhood that I've been in my whole life, that people maintain their properties, and we have this eyesore to live with. So I was very encouraged with the builders and the plan that they had made. I did have a concern, which I think my husband was trying to express. The concern being that in 1870, when the house was built, there was nothing around it at the time except maybe 2 or 3 other houses. It originally was on land that belonged to Benjamin Pierce, cousin of Franklin Pierce. And it was sloped land. But somewhere in the 1920s, they started getting sold off, and these little homes were made. I call them little, 1,300 square feet, with a 2-foot boundary on this left side of my house, if you were to look at it. So when I looked at the plan, I discussed the fact that with a 2-foot boundary, that the property line from my foundation would make it really difficult for us to maintain that side of the house that abuts the field directly. So what were my options? I decided to be human to human and approach the corporation that's developing these, and I said, I have a concern that somebody could, after the property is sold, erect a fence that could be of any height within 2 feet of my windows. And I would also have very limited use of that side. I wouldn't be able to remove my snow from my furnace vent system that's on that side. I would not be able to do maintenance on that side because there'd be no room to put a ladder without encroaching on someone else's property. So I approached the builder, Mad Jack 7, and I spoke with him about my concerns about this, and I did get the notice for the hearing. And they were very cooperative in finding a solution that would allow me to still be able to use my property and maintain my property Not only that, there's also a concern for safety. Had there been, if there would ever be a fire and some type of a fence was constructed so close to my house that myself and the other properties that abut that property in the back would have firefighters may have a difficult time protecting our homes. With that, upon discussion, oral discussion, and reasonable common sense, I requested a right-of-way easement so I could still have access to maintain my property, not live on that land, but to be able to have the space to put ladders up, repaint my house, fix the roof, fix the windows, fix the foundation, whatever we have to always do. It's an old house, it has shakes, there's no siding, I have to paint it every few years. I was hoping to avoid having to by approaching them, I was hoping to avoid having to have a conflict with a neighbor who says, it's my land, I can put my fence where I want, and I can have a space of 2 feet to try to maintain my property with. So the builder, Jack 7, said that that was a reasonable request. So that's what my concern was. I believe I have a very cooperative relationship with the builder and the developer of here, who's looking out for the whole neighborhood, not just beautifying or making any type of a profit. This is an area that I have lived in, and I have seen it go so downhill. And for the last few years, like I said, it's been a lot of nefarious activities going on here, and this was like a Merry Christmas to me, to know that I would have neighbors, that I would have families in the neighborhood. We are very close. The whole neighborhood looks out for each other. We all maintain our homes. And this was a welcome news to us. That was the only concern about being limited of having any access to the side of the house that we need to maintain. So with that, I'd like to hand it over to Attorney Gary. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your comments, ma'am. We're just, anyone else wish to speak in favor of the petition? In favor? All right, seeing none, the public hearing is closed. We're going to open questions and comments to the board. But Councilor Garrett, did you want to comment on any of that before we move forward?
Sure, Mr. Chairman. So Steve and Teresa have had discussions about some type of a maintenance easement. Steve is more than happy to accommodate that request. So the thought is that we will put together some type of an easement that is 6 feet from the house into this lot, which would allow her sufficient room to do whatever, paint the house, access that side of the house. So he's more than willing to do that. If you need to make that a condition of the approval, we're happy to accommodate that.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Gary, for those comments. All right, we'll open up questions and comments to the board now. The chair recognizes Mr. Nixon. Mr. Nixon, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Chair. So just to be clear, is that a single lot you're dividing into 3?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
So it's a single lot now, you're looking to subdivide it into 3 lots?
Yeah. Yes, so the existing, there's a large commercial warehouse that is partially demolished as of today that covered 132 Powell Street, total of 13,000 plus square feet. Matt created an approval not required plan that carved that 13,000 square feet into 3 lots, 2 of which are conforming to zoning. This third lot, lot 3, is undersized by about 400 square feet. So that's the lot that we're here before you tonight requesting relief for.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Thank
That's all I have to ask. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Nixon. The chair recognizes Mr. Breer. Mr. Breer, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The DPD staff, once again, is right on the money. This is a significant improvement to an existing lot, and it will enhance the neighborhood. I think one of the biggest advocates was the abutter, the comments made by the abutter. If I ever need anyone to speak on my behalf, ma'am, I'm calling you. Your comments were great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Breer. The chair recognizes Mr. Prokop. Mr. Prokop, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have to echo Member Beer's comments because I was fortunate enough yesterday to meet this lovely young couple, and they asked me, "Who are you?" And I proceeded to tell them, and they looked like they were in favor of the project, and they mentioned that they live right next door. So, to your point, it has been an eyesore, and it's a welcome, change to the neighborhood. And of course, I'm sure, as you mentioned, that there's been so many issues there, including illegal dumping, things of that nature. So the beautification of this project would eliminate those things. And hopefully you will have some wonderful neighbors. And I agree with Attorney Gary that we should condition the right-of-way easement that you are hoping for. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Prokop. The chair recognizes Mr. McCarthy. Mr. McCarthy, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to thank Mad Jack. What a great name, by the way, but Mad Jack for taking on this project and providing housing in the city, taking down an eyesore that is a problem building and putting housing that we sorely need. And not only housing, but housing that recognizes the missing middle. These are smaller houses on smaller lots that provide housing for the opportunity for a lot of Lowellians to afford their own private single family. I hope it doesn't go up too high, but it seems like property values are holding a little bit better. I do have some questions, Mr. Hammer, about your site plan, and maybe we could just go over that. And I would like to see street trees. I see in your site plan that we have a tree image, but I don't see any street trees on the site plan. And I'd like a condition that we have at least one street tree at each lot. But if we could just review the site plan, the floor plans show 6x5 porches and bulkheads on each of the sites. Yet I don't see it on your site plan. So we're adding a porch, is that correct, to the back of each one of these? That's roughly 5 by 6. And Peter, would that impact the back rear yard setback? It would not. Okay.
A porch on the back for the rear entry coming off the back, I do not believe will affect the setback, nor does the porch on the front.
Well, we do have front porch setbacks in zoning.
Yep. I believe it applies to the rear as well.
The front setback is reduced, but there is a number that we have to maintain as a minimum for front porch setbacks. And I think we might need something for the deck or porch in the back as well. That being said, the lot number 2 has a rear yard setback of only 8.8 feet.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct?
Yeah, if that affects that may have to be removed. It may just have to be a rear
I would
deck without a roof over the top.
I could suggest that we could put the plan for Lot 2 that's similar to the plan for Lot 3 by basically switching the location of the deck to the deeper portion of the backyard.
Right, yep.
As a solution?
Yes. That would have to be done if it's a setback issue.
Right. And so I think that you, in addition to that, I feel like the zoning police. you're like, I think in addition to that, your Lot 2 has a minimum rear yard as an NA, not applicable. But I think that that's actually
the side.
Minimum rear yard setback on your zoning table for Lot 2?
Yeah, because that would be 5-20.
Do we call that angled portion a rear or a side?
That would be a side.
Ah, so the rear is the 12.4?
No, that's a side as well.
I don't know about that. Come on, how many sides do you have?
I believe.
That looks like a rear.
I believe that's also a side, but I would defer to the building commissioner, but
All
I
right.
believe that that's a side as well.
Yeah, that's right. There are, if it's on two lots, I know the shape of the lot is weird, but there is no rear yard. The side yard is the requirement for all setbacks.
Got it. Okay. Okay. So you have a side yard setback of 5-20, and you're meeting all those on Lot 2?
Correct.
Okay. So I would just say that we provide shade trees as a condition, and that you update your site plan to show bulkheads and rear porches.
We can do that, yes. Yep.
Very good. And I thoroughly enjoy the detail that your team provides to this board, and I'm so glad that your numbers work in all cases. So
We try.
you do a great job. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. McCarthy. The chair recognizes Mr. Hovey. Mr. Hovey, the floor is yours, sir.
Thanks. Yeah, I had some questions. Attorney Gary said Lot 3 was the corner lot, when I believe it's Lot 2 is the corner lot, and that's why you don't need a rear yard setback. Peter, is that correct?
Yes.
Because it's on two streets. It's on
Yeah,
wait.
right, you're correct, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's where
Right.
the measurements come in. Okay. Just trying to clarify that.
Thank you.
You've been in the neighborhood for 67 years. My family was on Nottingham Street 80 years ago. So Hazeltine, Waite, Fry, I grew up in the area. I did speak to the direct rear abutter about this project. One of the I spoke to the rear abutter about the Prestapinos about this project. One of the issues that hadn't been brought up was there's a rodent issue with that building. And that building's always been out of place. Again, I'd go down to Cohen's convenience store, so it didn't make sense in the neighborhood, right? So I think these three houses will bring a lot to the neighborhood. I think it's done with the neighborhood in mind. There's no real big houses there. You have the setbacks. I think this is it's a great project that's gonna take care of a lot of problems in that neighborhood. The parking is wonderful because it's not the easiest streets to park on over there. Parking is difficult, so we're off street over here. This is I'd like to see more of these projects in the city because I think this is what we're trying to do with zoning, and 100% I am for this project. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hovey. Councilor, to my colleague's point, I think the project you're presenting is very in line with the character of the neighborhood. You really could have scaled it pretty big in terms of multifamily and all that. So I think this is in line with the mindful of the neighborhood and the character of it. I'm in support as well. And then we talked about the two conditions, the right-of-way access and then the shade tree. Are you?
We are, except I would just clarify, it's not a right-of-way easement, it's a maintenance easement.
Maintenance easement, okay. Okay. And we had one more condition as well.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to just mention the third condition is to revise the site plans to show the rear porch and accommodate the rear porch however way you need to do it on Lot 2.
That's acceptable. Back to the maintenance easement, the neighbors would like us to note that it would be 6 feet off of their house, and we're willing to do that.
And you're amenable to that? Okay. So we just know it's 6 feet from the house, yeah. Okay. Any other comments by my colleagues before we move forward with the motion? You did, yeah. All right, seeing none, can I have a motion, please?
Okay, to you, Mr. Chairman. Regarding ZBA 2024-63, applicant Mad Jack 7 LLC. We got property located 132 Powell Street, for zoning laws, section 5.1. The proposal requires approval for section 5.1 for relief of minimum lot area, minimum rear yard setback requirements, and any other relief required under the zoning laws with the condition of a 6-foot maintenance. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And street trees, and to update the site plan to show the rear porch. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right, motion by Mr. Prokop,
Second motion?
second by Mr. McCarthy. Can we roll call, please?
Chairman Peck,
Approve with conditions.
Member McCarthy,
Approve with conditions.
Member Prokop,
Approve with conditions.
Member Briere, Member Hovey,
Approve.
Member Nickerson.
Approve with conditions.
All right, been approved. Wish you the best of luck.
Thank you all. I think this is the last meeting of the year. We appreciate your time, your volunteerism. It's very much appreciated.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilor Gary. Appreciate it. Thank you. You too, Mr. Hammer, folks. All right, moving on to other, actually, one more item on the agenda. We have ZBA-2024-64. The petition type is a variance. Applicant is James Andrews. Property located at 34 Lane Street. James Andrew has applied to the zoning board of appeals to construct a carport on the property at 34 Lisa Lane. The subject property is located in the suburban single-family SSF zoning district. The project requires variance approval per section 5.1 for relief from the minimum side yard setback and for any other relief required in the Lowell zoning ordinance. They have requested for a continuance. Mr. Katrumbis, when's the next available opening on our docket here?
This one would be January 27th.
Okay. Okay. All right, any comments from my colleagues before we move forward with a motion to continue the matter? All right, seeing none, can I have a motion to continue, please?
To you, Mr. Chairman, regarding ZBA 2024-64 for variance at 34 Lisa Lane. Under section 5.1, request for continuance to January 27, 2025.
All right, motion by Mr. Prokop to continue the matter.
Second.
Second by Mr. Hovey. Can we have a roll call, please?
Chairman Peck,
Approve continuance.
Member McCarthy,
Approve continuance to January 27, 2025.
Member Prokop,
Approve continuance to January 27, 2025.
Member Briere, Member Hovey,
Approve.
Member Nickerson.
Approve.
All right, the matter's been continued. Just for the public notice, there'll be no other notice. This matter has been continued to January 27th of next year. All right, going on to other business, we have minutes for approval for November 25th, 2024. Any comments, edits from my colleagues? All right, seeing none, can we have a motion to approve the minutes, please?
To you, Mr. Chairman, minutes for approval, November 25th, 2024.
All right, motion by Mr. Prokop to approve the minutes.
Second?
Second by Mr. McCarthy. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed say nay. The ayes are unanimous. The minutes are approved. Any other comments from my colleagues before we adjourn?
I just want to say happy holidays to everybody, and I want to thank my fellow board members for a very competent and fun experience this last year.
Thank you, Mr. McCarthy. I echo that. All right, any other comments by my colleagues? All right, seeing none, can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
To you, Mr. Chairman, request for adjourn.
All right, motion by Mr. Prokop to adjourn. Second by Mr. Hovey. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed say nay. The ayes are unanimous. We are adjourned. Thank you. Have a good night, folks.